Vice President Fielder, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can. Thank you.
Okay. We still don't see Commissioner O'Donnell. All right. Good morning, everybody. Time is now 9:33 a.m. Today's date is Tuesday, March 5th, 2024. We are in the commission offices here in Helena in the Bollinger Conference Room. I will call today's meeting to order. Would my colleagues join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance? All right. Thank you, colleagues. I would note for the record that Commissioner Pinocci, myself, and Commissioner Bukacek are present in the Bollinger Room. Vice President Fielder is participating online. I do expect Commissioner O'Donnell to join us, but for now he is excused. All right.
This is Commissioner O'Donnell. Sorry for being late. I put in the wrong numbers. Pardon me.
That's all right. We're glad you could join us. So all five commissioners are present, so we do have quorum. All right. The Montana Public Service Commission welcomes public comment on any matter that is on today's agenda or on any matter that is within the jurisdiction of the commission. We will do this in order of persons who notified us they wanted to testify today. Is Kimber or Kimberly Brown here? Nope. All right. Mr. Fitzmaurice, good morning. Welcome back. You're a regular. Try that one. Remember to state and spell your name for the record and identify who you're with. All right. Would you mind holding Mr. Fitzmaurice? All right. Kimberly, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Kimber Brown, Kimber. Brown is Brown, and I live in Livingston, Montana. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Kimber with the Gallant Valley Sunrise Movement. I moved to Montana 10 years ago, and I quickly fell in love with this beautiful state. In the first week I lived in Bozeman of 2020, the Berger foothills were on fire. And not long after, we all witnessed the flooding of the Yellowstone River, and yet more homes were threatened. I could not believe how close we all are to losing everything to extreme climate events. And also, watching both of those disasters unfold before me, I saw how community comes together. This place means everything to me now. In Montana, I have found great community in my peers, and they have taught me to be more resilient. The young people of Montana have fueled me. I have found incredible power connecting to folks with diverse experiences through a common need. I know that across the board, we are worried about our futures. We are worried about the stability of our environment as we grow older, and we are worried about our economic stability right now. In the 10 years since I moved to Montana, my largest bill besides my rent has always been my power bill. At one point, when my household unexpectedly went from a 2-income household to a 1-income household, the bills I had to pay crippled me. I was quickly living out of my car with overdue Northwestern bills to pay, and I'm finally at a point in my life where I have less acute of financial stress, but I'm still scared to open the envelope and look at my bill every month. The economic and environmental anxiety and instability that my generation is going through is unacceptable and will only get worse for the generations after us if our government does not act now. We know a brighter future is possible. We know we can protect our ability to live here. With the Healthy Montana decision, we know this is our constitutional right, and you must also abide by this. When I went to Helena and I listened to the plaintiff's stories, I felt affirmed that my worries about my future and the health of our home were shared by so many people, both folks down the street from me and those across the state. When the health ruling came out, it felt like the first time my government made me feel hopeful that they were finally taking some responsibility. As our utility regulator, you have profound impact on state emissions and energy affordability. You now have the opportunity to regard our constitutional right to a clean and healthful environment in all your decisions. You have the right to act in a way that is responsible to the air, the land, the water, and the people. If we together embrace this rule and take action, maybe I will still be able to swim in the Yellowstone River in the summertime. Maybe I will still be able to spend time and highlight across country skiing with my friends in the deep winter snow. I want to afford to live here, and I want to heat my home in the winter. I want to continue to enjoy this beautiful state. That's why my peers and I at Gallant Valley Sunrise are part of the petition filing. And as young people, our only hope for a safe future where we thrive, raise children, play, dream, work, and create is in protecting a stable climate. Thank you.
All right, Kimber, thank you for your comments this morning. Thank you for your patience. Go ahead.
Thank you, President Brown, members of the commission. My name is Nick Fitzmaurice. That's Fitzmaurice. Good to be back. I have some brief comments on docket 2022.11.102. I know that Northwestern's IRP discussion is going to be pushed back to next week, but just wanted to comment that I've reviewed the staff memo and feel I'm happy with the amount of work that has gone into reviewing this and the amount of consideration of the stakeholder and public involvement. I know that this has been a really long process, and I encourage the commission to keep that strong language and the strength of that draft when that does come on to the docket next week, and really focusing on the aspects of transparency and allowing the public to see the full draft and all the required elements, ensuring that's all available before the end of comment periods without the trickling in. So just supportive of that, and we'll be back around probably next week when that discussion happens. And then the other piece here, and I don't think I mentioned, I'm with the Montana Environmental Information Center. But on docket, I believe 2024.03.028, the same matter that the previous commenter was discussing, the joint petition for rulemaking to consider climate risks in the commission's regulation of Montana electric and gas utilities. This petition was filed last Wednesday by a diverse set of over 40 organizations and businesses from across the state, including MEIC. The commission, with direct regulatory oversight and monopoly utilities in Montana, has the potential to be the most powerful body in the state to mitigate climate change. And this rulemaking petition seeks to bring this body's operations in line with Montana statutes and the constitutional right to a clean and healthful climate. This constitutional protection has been in place for over 50 years, all the while fossil fuel energy consumption has grown under the commission's oversight. With the economic and public health impacts of unseasonably low snowpacks, drought across the state, devastating floods, increased intensity and severity of wildfires with dangerous air pollution levels, we're left to wonder why the commission has not yet incorporated these impacts into decision-making, and hope that in the future, this body will do so. Climate change most severely impacts underserved communities, so the commission's decisions must consider equity to protect the most vulnerable from harm caused by the fossil fuel industry. Our Constitution is clear. The state and each person must maintain and improve a clean and healthful environment for present and future generations. And this summer's ruling in Held v. State of Montana only affirms what we already knew, that this includes a right to a stable climate. This rulemaking petition calls on the commission to update internal policies to be in line with the Constitution, including consideration of the economic, social, and environmental implications this body's regulatory decisions have on the climate, specifically incorporating the federally recommended social cost of greenhouse gases and regulation of Montana gas and electric utilities. The legislature has granted the commission with broad rulemaking authority to implement its duties, such as consideration of climate risks. Carbon-free energy sources are more cost-effective than their fossil fuel counterparts, and incorporating the external social and economic damages of climate change only furthers the case for the clean energy transition in Montana. And as an economic regulator, the commission must take these factors into account. We're also asking that the commission holds a public hearing to gather input from Montanans and the petitioners on the importance of adopting this rule. And I just ask that for the sake of present and future generations in Montana, that the commission adopt this rule to protect our right to a stable climate. Thank you for your time this morning.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Fitzmaurice. Peter Scott, Esquire. Morning, Mr. Scott.
To speak to you about agenda item number 3, docket 2021.12.136. A proposed order was issued with a staff memo on Friday. We submitted a written comment letter last night. Given the short time frame, I thought it would be helpful to come forward this morning and just sort of highlight the content of that. I brought copies if I could approach in case you haven't seen that yet.
Yes, of course. And then if you, yeah.
Mr. President and members of the commission, it's not my intent to read the entire thing into the record, rather just to highlight it now that you have a copy of it. The primary reason for the comment is to request that you defer action on agenda item number 3 and give the parties and interested persons an opportunity to respond to the position taken by your staff in making these recommendations. There are 3 key points I outlined I'll just summarize. We think that the draft order presented to you relies on evidence that's not in the record. We think it comes to a conclusion on legal issues that were not noted as the purpose of hearing. And finally, it ignores or overlooks legal argument that's based on precedent established by final orders issued by this commission in previous dockets. So to summarize, the stated purpose of the hearing conducted in September was to determine whether the petition for waiver of Montana Administrative Rule 38.5.33717B should be accepted. And the draft order before you then makes determinations about overall system adequacy, which was not a stated purpose of that hearing. Number 2, and this issue has come up in other dockets. I know you've struggled with it and your predecessors have, and that is the role of staff, whether it's advisory or advocacy and how those separations are made. The position taken by staff, again, in reliance on evidence that staff didn't present in the record and hasn't been adequately considered or responded to, puts them into something of an advocacy role, which is why we're asking for an opportunity to respond under a briefing schedule or otherwise at the convenience of the commission, in order that we may address the position of staff not previously articulated. And then the third reason has to do with prior orders. The briefing that was filed on behalf of CenturyLink was, I think, due to the transition from Eddie to Ready, not placed in the docket. I believe you now have a copy of it, but the order that was drafted by staff does not take that argument into consideration. If it did so, it would need to address the fact that this commission previously found those rules are not appropriate for determining system adequacy, and specifically identifying or stating in final order 7388J, which is cited in the draft order, specifically stating that other methods other than this out of service rule I just cited, would be used to address system adequacy, not compliance with this rule that is referred to in that prior order as no longer appropriate for making those determinations. That order adopted a stipulation in which this commission stated it intended to conduct rulemaking for the stated purpose of ensuring that future forbearance and waiver of that rule may no longer be necessary. The order before you says that the purpose of the prior waiver was to specifically resolve all service quality issues. And I submit that that's not the case, which is why we're asking for an opportunity to address the staff's draft order. Obviously, other parties and interested persons should have that same opportunity. And if the commission has no questions, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scott. All right, are there any other persons in the room that would like to make public comment this morning? Any persons in the room? Seeing none, are there any other public commenters online? I'm being informed that there. Oh, do you want to make public comment this morning? All right, good morning. Please come up to the microphone right here. Yeah, please state and spell your name for the record. Oh, that's all right.
John Herrin, Herrin. I'm from Helena, Montana. Going right into the meeting and sit down.
Can you pull that microphone right up to you?
Okay. I'm going to quickly run through 3 topics. One is the legal side of things. The other is global warming issues. And then what solutions other countries and worlds and states are doing that might help us move more towards a climate friendly and reduce our footprint with particularly in this case, coal strip. Headlines from Bob Brown, and it says climate crisis, we're all in it together, which is really the truth. We are in this together and we have to come up with solutions. This is just a picture of a former lake that's just drying up. Salt Lake City, Great Salt Lake, got to the point where it was just about dry and it was blowing wind, salt all over the place. We've got Hawaii fires, got the fires in Canada. So global warming is smacking everybody, and 70 to 80% of the people realize that it's the truth and it's really happening. I've presented this information back in October, but essentially this is a graph going back 800 years. And you can see that the interglacial and the warming periods just in a cycle about every 100,000 years that we go through those peaks and lows of ice ages to switching to temperate climates like right now. We're in an interglacial period. And then here's basically the norm for the CO2 levels. And it's around 250. And right now we're at 400, which we've never seen in the last 800 years. And that you can see the line, it's going almost vertical. It's exponential. Methane is doing the same thing. And in fact, methane is growing at probably 4 times. It represents 30% of the global warming. So Colstrip, Northwest Energy buying into a new peaking plant for natural gas is 4 times less impactful than Colstrip, but it still adds to the footprint of the world. So here's another guest article from Jim Smith that says, stay out of court by doing your job. And that really applies to the state of Montana, from DEQ to the PSC. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a bit, but climate polluters should pay. Essentially, that is what you look at, is that they're not having to incorporate their actual footprint that the CO2 does. I haven't figured out the number because there's like a lot of different people are saying it, but essentially they're in by, it was 2100, but I think the timeline is getting closer to 2040, 2060, somewhere in there, of 1 billion people dying across the world because as we pump out more CO2, it's just a big 5 connected different mechanisms that basically compound each other. One of them is as we put more CO2 in the atmosphere, the stratosphere gets colder and it traps more heat. As the sea levels come up, we're going to flood more areas, and then more methane is going to be released, which is 80 times more reactive. Tundra is melting and changing from reflective white to brown, which we're all over the Antarctic and the Arctic, is just increasing the temperatures too. And we're seeing record temperatures. 23 was the warmest year on record, and actually it hit the 1.5 degrees Celsius that the world is saying, hey, that's our tipping point. We're at it. And we need to do everything we can. The United States is still 13% of the world climate pollution or greenhouse gas emissions. China is twice that now, and they're still building coal plants. We're selling coal around the world. Bad news is there's the glacier is called the Doomsday Glacier, and it's basically in the Antarctic. And that's where our most serious problems are. And if you look at these charts, this basically is driven largely when the Antarctic melts. What happens is in that cycle is that, in fact, this here Doomsday Glacier is a key element to it. But as that West Antarctic area melts off, then there's all this trapped CO2 and critters that died for the last 80,000 years gets swept up to the surface. And that's when all these peaks were happening, is basically that trapped CO2 or carbon in the Antarctic is the real concern. And this Doomsday Glacier seems to have lost its ability to recover. And that's where we're at. We're basically melting not only the Arctic, but the Antarctic is really our key component that we have to worry about. What this Doomsday Glacier is a big plug on the other glaciers that are stacked up in Antarctic. If that blows out, then all those other ice shields basically start collapsing and falling apart, which they're melting anyway. But it's almost like it's going to be a tidal wave of breaking off of the ice sheets. They're basically protecting us from the real serious things. By 2100, they're saying billions of people will die. I think that number is probably down to closer to 2050. Billions of people will be displaced by heat and temperature. In fact, they're saying that the Midwest of the United States will be unbearable. Montana is going to probably be one of those Goldilocks areas that might attract a lot of people moving here, and Canada the same way. There's going to be mass migration. It's already happening. About 1/3 of the people in the United States are looking at moving because of climate, and it's just going to get worse. The United States commits to phasing out coal power plant, which means, what's that mean for locals? And that's where we're at. Is the coal strip needs to stop. It was down during the worst cold spell we've had in 40 years. And inexplicably, why? Why was it scheduled for maintenance when we had such a cold blast? Also, those power plants are antiquated. They're basically polluting. They don't have the right scrubbers on them in comparison to other. In fact, it's the filthiest coal plant, I think, in the United States, but I can't say that for a fact. It just needs to close. And Northwest Energy is buying in from 15% to 30% of coal strip by 2025. Where's the other 70%? Washington and Oregon are dropping out. Who's going to take over that other 70%? Or is one of the power plants going to shut down? Or are we going to just use it for peaking? Those questions need to be answered, and answered fast. It would be a lot better and I can go into some of the research I've done, but Tesla's battery systems basically modulate the whole electrical grid. And you put those in, let's say we did one in coal strip, it basically would reduce our peaking load because it just makes sense to be able to pull energy out and put energy into these storage batteries. But it also comes with a computer software that basically makes the system works better. And we need to locate those around the state. Colstrip can reimagine itself into something else. If we built a gigafactory or whatever it is, or something other than coal and burning coal, that would help the community stay alive. And let's take some of that Coals Trust money and put that into Colstrip to rebuild them, and let's shut the plant down. Chicago, this is getting into the legal parts of this. Chicago sues oil and gas companies for their role in contributing to climate change. The recourse that a lot of people are realizing is the only way to get the needle to move is to go to court. And I fully support the petition for the Public Service Commission that MEIC and others have, and I'm signed on in a group of Helena Interfaith Climate Action Group. Even though I'm a scientist and I believe in science should dictate where we go. I think the real kicker for everybody, and the bottom line is for the PSC and for the state of Montana, and including DEQ, I've testified there 3 times. And this is Montana Code Annotated 23, and it's Chapter 7, Environmental Protections, Chapter 1, Environmental Policy and Protections. And it's real short, but it basically takes the constitutional guarantees of personal protections, personal protections of property rights, and also climate and the environment, but it goes into a lot more detail. The legislature recognizing the profound impact of human activity on interrelations of components of the natural environment, particularly the profound influence of population growth, density, urbanization, industrial expansion, resource exploitation, which is Colstrip, new and expanding technologies, recognizing the critical importance of restoring and maintaining environmental quality to the overall welfare of human development. It declares that continued policy of state of Montana in cooperation with the federal government, local governments, and other concerned public and private organizations to use all practical means and measures, including financial and technical assistance, in a manner calculated to foster and promote the general welfare, maintain conditions of human and nature coexist in productive harmony, to recognize the right and use and enjoy private property free of undue government regulations, and to fulfill the social, economic, and other requirements of present and future generations. That's all of what the held lawsuit was about. This, I'm going to give you guys a copy of, but I think I've got extra. Essentially, I don't think that the PSC can really, if the Supreme Court comes down in the next couple weeks with their likely decision at 5-2, they said, no, we're not going to install this. If they come out the same, unanimous or close to an unanimous decision, the PSC needs to incorporate climate change into all our decisions. I am reading the tea leaves. And the reason I emphasize the legal part of it is I've been in 18 years of lawsuits with the county over zoning and subdivision regulations. Basically got a paralegal or more advanced degree in law that I want. Won $650,000, actually $750,000, and counties paid out $6 million in stuff trying to choke everybody out of the rural areas and push them into the city, which seems contrary to what I'm saying here. But I'm saying that I basically know the science. I know the laws of the state of Montana, and I know what the consequences can be if the people when the state government don't respect the people and the property rights and all that. So back to a little bit of what's happening around the world. Australia just pulled the plug on the largest coal mine in their area, and basically they're switching to renewable energy. It's New South Wales is leading the world in financing, approving, and construction of new battery storage systems. Australia realizes that this is a losing battle, okay? And that's goes on into Europe right now. Believe it or not, the European Union in 2023 went from 22% renewables to 44% renewables. 1 year, they doubled their renewables. That's how committed they are. Westmoreland Coal Company, which runs Colstrip, massive coal mine, basically they're have a mines that they proposed in England, and these steel mills refused just recently to accept coal as a way to make steel. And so they're going to go alternative, or I'm not sure what their solution is, but basically it shot Westmoreland's years and years of moving forward with coal, and they said no. California spearheads global initiatives / methane pollution. And basically, this is the new one in Dubai where they had the COP28. The United States signed on to basically get in out of coal, and 58 countries have done the same thing. The problem is nobody's doing enough. The United States is still exporting more oil and gas and coal to the world. We are really the largest contributor to global warming in the world. Now China is more than we are, but we're only at 13%, but China's at 26%. But if you look at CO2 lasting in the environment for 1,000 years, I don't know how we get going off the cliff. And I mean, really seriously, billions of people dying. I'll probably be gone, but you can see it just in the footprint of what's going on. I won't go much further. That's pretty much covers it all. But basically, this article is in this health and science section of the says points to no return for climate. The planet is on verge of breaching not only one but 5 catastrophic climate opening or tipping points, excuse me. And the scientists warn. They include the ice sheets of Greenland are collapsing, glaciers in West Africa, Antarctic, the thawing of the permafrost, the destruction of coral reefs, and the collapse of crucial oceanic currents. So what I plead to you all, and take it seriously, is as soon as the Supreme Court comes out, hire somebody, I guess, from the perspective of helping the PSC move forward to figuring out what is the best bang for our buck to try and reduce any of the footprint that we can. And my thinking just off the top is, again, look for trying to close Colstrip as quickly as possible and come up with some other energy source. The problem with Northwest Energy is that their stockholders are driving the ship and the management, and basically they don't seem to be reacting like Exxon's just bought the largest coal or injection site, 110,000 acres of BLM property, and the Exxon's going to be transporting vented methane and CO2 into the ground. If Exxon can make that kind of investment, the state of Montana and Northwest Energy sure should turn their ship towards doing something. Carbon capture is kind of like a very expensive, and when you look at the actual benefit, it's really questionable whether it makes economic sense. So I think if we got, instead of doing at Colstrip some type of carbon capture, it seems to me the best way is to close the plant down as quickly as possible. Don't allow them to buy more interest into Colstrip, and let's build something else that helps those people stay alive and prosper in Colstrip. So that's my testimony. I appreciate all your efforts in listening, and I look forward to seeing what the next chapters bring.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Herron, for your comments this morning. Any other public commenters in the room? Any other commenters online? Seeing none. Thank you for your public comment. All right. Announcements. We are going to defer 2 matters this morning. The first of those would be work session item number 2, which is docket 2022.11.102, which is the commission's comments on Northwestern Energy's 2023 Integrated Resource Plan. We will be taking up that matter next Tuesday. And then the second item we're going to defer is work session item number 3, which is docket 2021.12136. This was commission initiated matter. This is the investigation into the adequacy of legacy infrastructure of Key West doing business as CenturyLink. So we will defer that matter as well. All right. Let's move to adoption of the minutes. Action item number 1, which is the approval of commission minutes for the week of February 12th, 2024. Is there a motion?
Mr. President, I'd like to move to adopt the minutes. Thank you.
Is there a second?
A second.
We have a motion and second. Discussion, revisions, alterations to the draft minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Pinocchi's motion to adopt the draft minutes for the week of February 12, 2024 as the final minutes signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no. Seeing no opposition, motion carries unanimously. All right, let's move into our work session items. Work session item number 1, which has not been deferred. So this is docket 2024.02.025. This is Northwestern Energy, the town of Phillipsburg, and Phillipsburg School District number 1. We're here to consider interim approval of retail electric supply service for the town of Phillipsburg and Phillipsburg School District number 1 to become bundled retail electric supply customers of Northwestern Energy. Good morning, Ms. Webster.
Good morning, President Brown and Commissioners. My regulatory counterpart will be leading today's presentation.
Good morning, President Brown, Commissioners. On February 20th, 2024, Northwestern Energy, the town of Phillipsburg, and Phillipsburg School District number 1 filed a joint petition and motion for emergency relief. Joint petitioners request that the commission authorize Northwestern to provide retail electric supply service to the town and to the school district while this docket is pending. Joint petitioners explained that from approximately October of 1998 to June of 2020, the town obtained its electricity from a town-owned hydroelectric facility. Since June of 2020, the town and school district have obtained electricity through Northwestern's open access transmission tariff, and that's based on the Western Energy Imbalance market prices. The joint petition asserts that those prices are overly burdensome. And under Montana Code annotated 69-8-201, small customers who were permitted to not purchase electricity from a public utility could do so in the future with commission approval. For the town and school district to now purchase electricity from Northwestern, the commission must find that they have met 3 statutory requirements. Those are that they are retail customers, that they have individual average monthly loads of less than 5,000 kilowatts, and that they were not purchasing electricity from a public utility on October 1st of 2007. Staff has reviewed the joint petition and motion for emergency relief and recommends that the commission find that the town and school district meet the requirements of Montana Code annotated 69-8-201 as outlined in the staff draft interim order. The town and school district qualify as retail customers because they purchase electricity for their own end use and do not intend to resell the electricity. Second, their average loads are within the statutory limitations. And third, Northwestern did not provide electric supply to the town for its municipal buildings or to the school district for its buildings on October 1st, 2007. This matter is uncontested. The Montana Consumer Council does not object to the motion for emergency relief. Therefore, staff recommends that the commission grant the motion for emergency relief on an interim basis and issue the proposed interim order with any appropriate clerical edits. And we're available for any questions that you all may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything to add, Ms. Webster?
President Brown, nothing at this time.
All right. Is there a motion? Commissioner Bukacek?
I move that we approve the emergency relief and issue the proposed interim order with appropriate clerical edits.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Pinocci has seconded. A motion and second. Discussion? Commissioner Bukacek?
This is an easy decision to vote yay. Good cause, and it's a good faith agreement between the parties.
Additional discussion? Question, maybe, from a historical perspective? Certainly on my 3 years on the commission, I can't recall acting on a similar matter to this one. If you know, is this the first time the commission has been asked to have a customer, I guess, asked to, after enactment of the 69A201 in 2007, I believe, is this the first time we've had a customer that's asked to come back as a retail customer, essentially, of Northwestern Energy after being a choice customer?
President Brown and commissioners, yes, this is the first time the commission has made a decision under the statute and the subsection for a option customer to come back under a public utility.
Really interesting. Additional discussion? Additional discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Commissioner Bukacek's motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed signify by saying no. Motion carries unanimously. All right, as noted, we have deferred work session items number 2 and 3. So some general announcements for those, particularly you, Mr. Herron. I would note that tomorrow at 1:00 p.m., the commission will be holding an public informational meeting. We will be receiving information from Northwestern Energy as to their operations during the recent January 2024 cold weather event. I think the public will find this informative and interesting, so I'd encourage the public to tune in at 1:00 tomorrow. Our next commission business meeting will be at the regular time on Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Seeing no further business to come before the commission, the time is now 10:14 a.m. I will adjourn today's meeting.